I hope you guys all had a fantastic weekend, and now it's time to get the week started. Guys, we're going to be doing an update on the Idaho 4. We're going to be taking a bigger look at some of the things, some of the quote-unquote suspects, many things like this. We will also be doing the Delphi video, which will be the Delphi case in its entirety later on today. Guys, I'm JB Gunner. This is Crime Time with JB Gunner. Let's go ahead and get right on into this story.
Bring it back.
Now, believe it or not, there's actually been some major updates when it comes to the Idaho 4. Now, a lot of you guys may look at these updates and say, well, they're not quite that big, but in my opinion, they are. We're going to be talking about the fact that one victim was brutally murdered more intensely than the others. We're going to be taking a look at quite a few things. Some of the fathers, one father in particular is questioning the police's actions. They won't let him post a reward. They won't let any of this take place. We're going to be taking a look at all of this, plus some of the people that are the suspects. You guys know my position on all this. I believe it is an incel. Particularly maybe even the guy at the food court, the food truck. I still lean heavily towards it being him, but a lot of people blame the boyfriend Jack. A lot of people say it's some serial killer. I'm not quite sure. But let's go ahead and get into this story. Before we do, though, I want to say thank you, first and foremost, to everybody that supports this channel and my other channels. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do without you, the Gun Squad. So thank you guys so much. And if you too find value in my content, feel free to hit the links down below and join the Gun Squad today. While you're down there, subscribe to all my other YouTube channels as well as my Odyssey, my Rumble. Follow me on Twitter because you never know when YouTube's going to take me down or suspend me. It happens quite regularly, actually. And that's the way to stay in contact and to still see my content. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stories over the weekend and over the past few days when it comes to the Idaho 4. This is actually pretty big deal. Idaho victims' parents cryptically claim means of death between two of the students doesn't match. So right off the jump, is the father saying that that two of the victims, like one was maybe stabbed, another one was maybe choked to death? Kind of curious because I'm pretty sure the police have came out and they've been pretty transparent that all four students were stabbed. This is an interesting theory. This is an interesting concept. And maybe he's just saying that the manner in which they were stabbed, the viciousness in which they stabbed, it doesn't match. Despite cops saying that all four were stabbed, and then Idaho cops ruled out certain people very fast. And this is one of the comments I've made since the beginning. I think when you rule out the boyfriend, even though there was obviously a dispute between Kaylee and the boyfriend, I think when you rule that out, I think they ruled him out too quick. I also think the food truck guy with the hoodie and the hat, I believe he was ruled out way too quick. Now, when it comes to the other people in the house, because they were also females, I do not believe that they were ruled out too quick. I honestly believe there's no way possible that a female could commit this crime. Now, I was in a chat room the other day, and it triggered some women because they're like, so you're saying we can't, why would you think that we're not strong enough to do this? Well, it's because you're not. I don't know if you understand the stamina and the strength that it takes to brutally murder and stab four adult human beings, one of them being an actual male, right? Parents of the victim, Kaylee Goncalves, Stephen and Christy Goncalves, spoke out as patience dwindles for Moscow police 3 weeks into the unsolved murders. They claim that the means of death between two girls don't match. The parents also say police in Idaho ruled out certain people very fast, and I agree with that completely. Sunday marks 3 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death at their off-campus house in the early mornings of November 13th. On the early hours, excuse me. On Saturday, police in Moscow, Idaho, released a brief update on the slayings. At this time, no suspect has been identified. Well, I think that's safe to say because nobody's fucking, I think that's that's not really news. I think we all understand that. As you guys know, these 4 people were stabbed to death, murdered. But obviously, with this new stuff that's coming out, it does raise questions on whether all 4 were actually stabbed or not. He says, I'll cut to the chase. This is Stephen Gonçalves. The means of death does not match. He said that Kaylee and Mogan, what the fuck is a Mogan? Were sleeping in the same bed, Maddie is her name, when the attack occurred. Maybe that was her last name. Their points of damage don't match. I'm just going to say it. It wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for the funeral. I sent my daughter to college. She came back in a box, and I can speak on that. And I agree with him. The cops are, people are saying that he's leaking information. No, he wants to get to the bottom of it. And in fact, we'll go ahead and listen to his interview right here because with Fox News, because the truth of this is a lot of people, and a lot of like the internet sleuths, they feel like all this information should be out. And see, I disagree with you, right? Now, the father, I'm going to be honest, he should know enough of the information. But this also risks that for future parents. Because if the police believe that the parents will leak the information, they're going to start to give less and less information to parents. Because if they believe you're going to go on Fox News or anywhere else and just start leaking the information that they tell you, they have no more incentive to tell you anything. Because what you're going to do as an emotional parent is you're going to lash out and you're going to say, they're not telling the public everything. Let me leak this information. Let me tell this information to the public. Now, I agree with him that he's paid the cost to be the boss. But however, this is going to lead to, in my opinion, police being less likely to share information with parents. And that rightfully so. Because if I'm doing an investigation trying to get to the bottom of some shit and the parents are leaking the information, why in the fuck would me as the detective, as the investigator, leak key information to you when there could be more than one assailant? And most importantly, the assailant's not captured yet. Basically, the parents are showing the hand of what's going on. Let's take a look.
Good evening, America, and welcome to this special edition of Cross Country in Moscow, Idaho. Tonight, we are in front of the Moscow Police Department, and you may be asking why. It's been about 3 weeks since the horrific stabbing death of 4 college students at the University of Idaho. 3 weeks since we lost Zayna, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. 3 weeks, and still the police have no suspect or person of interest. The community has been left in limbo, left with more confusion and more questions. We are on the hunt for answers for them. Moscow deserves answers. The students of the university deserve answers.
And see, this is where I disagree with him and anybody else saying this. You realize the killer's still free, right? You realize that it hurts the investigation to just pour information out so the killer, who's probably at home watching these news reports, sees it. I don't understand why the true crime community and the news community in general don't understand that. Like, how do you become that retarded that you don't understand that the more info you get means the more info the killer gets? It's a dumb thing. And one of the methods that investigators and police officers and detectives use is hold tight information that only the killer would know. We've known this our entire lives. We've seen it on the first 48. We've seen it in almost every investigation that there's ever been. Typically, look at the Delphi murders. They're still holding on to information 5, almost 6 years later. But you guys are like, no, we gotta know. You gotta tell us. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you?
These 4 young, innocent victims deserve answers, and so do their families. So let's start there. Joining me now on set, the parents of Kaylee Gonçalves, Christy and Steve Gonçalves. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's
The valid point.
The horrific details of everything, them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and that's happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
just crawling in bed,
Every
and the
girl in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't, meet you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman comes and snatches you out of your bedroom.
Steve, we've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
No.
Well, where the hell
I
are you
can't
sleeping?
just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raised my family. That's not the way I raised my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. And they're gonna hear Kaylee. They're gonna hear Maddie. They're gonna hear these.
The other two as well.
Yes.
All of them.
I'm careful saying anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these two girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these two girls, I'm gonna do what I can do, and we're not being victims. We're gonna fight. We're gonna figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our
I can
audience
respect that.
you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. Where does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen, and those people are like lawyers, and they don't want to say anything, and they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can, but somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out. They're like, don't do that.
Now that part, they want to put rewards out, and basically they think they don't want the images and the reward signs all over the campus and all over the town, because apparently a good portion of this town's revenue comes from the college kids, right? And I can understand that. However, so my theory is that he should be allowed to put this out, and yes, by them not allowing him to offer a reward, and they are suppressing this. Now, this is where I disagree with him, though. Them not releasing information is not suppressing the story. It is protecting the integrity of the investigation. And I understand my man right here is emotional. I understand a lot of you guys are emotional, but that doesn't change how police work works, how it's always worked.
I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not going to get a lot of students if they see those things. But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
I can agree
When
with
was
that.
the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday, we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
About 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And
they
did y'all
need-
get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They
Via
needed me to
text.
sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something
Some mail.
that was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
The FBI, everybody that's here. We just have no information as family, and it gets tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. We're going to hear something. And you see
Yes,
these-
but you've done like 7 interviews on the news. Why would they give you information, bro? I'm being dead honest here. Like that would seem like a dumb move for the police to make, to give you information knowing you keep going on the fucking news.
oh, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
The sixth person on the lease that was never there. Stop playing games. This is serious. These are people's lives, and this is the future of this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids that come into this community next year, or they don't. So be serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way that the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard the target attack walk back and then reverse it back to it being a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
They have told us that it was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who.
Oh,
We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information.
they can't give them that information, but make no mistake about it. Last night, some shit broke. Last night, some news broke.
Good evening, I'm Brian Enton, live in Moscow, Idaho,
Listen.
for this News Nation special report.
This is
3
a
weeks ago,
breaking news.
the unthinkable happened in this house behind me. 4 university students brutally murdered here. Their killer not only is still on the run, but still all of this remains a mystery 3 weeks later. And we have breaking news tonight. New details that we have just confirmed. News Nation is learning that Kaylee Gonzalez's injuries were significantly more brutal than her best friend Maddie's injuries, which may end up being a very, very important piece of evidence.
she was
when
the
it
one
comes
targeted.
to determining who the target
It means she was the one targeted, and if you remember right, and you guys called me sexist and this and that, I said it's going to be the hottest one that was the target. Some incel, some simp, some loser is going to be, if they maybe got rejected, turned down, could have been the guy at the food truck. It could have been anything, right? And everybody is busy pointing fingers at like the neighbor who was awkward, and which we'll talk about that. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about there, we're talking about this guy right here. I'm going to show you, Jeremy Regan. Like a lot of people believe Reagan. They believe that this guy is just awkward because he's also doing a lot of news videos, cast. And so what do you'll see things like him, or you'll see situations like with this guy who was the big, the fat fella in the truck stop at the food truck, and you'll see these guys, and we'll take a look at some of the information with this in a little bit, or in a separate video. But ultimately, what we're seeing is these guys being targeted, and for some reason, the most awkward dude of the entire food truck situation was the dude with the hoodie and the hat, who clearly tried to conceal his identity. In fact, at the end of the video, when those girls' when the ride share came to pick him up, dude looked aggravated and angry and literally ran off over to go get in his car. Is it possible? Remember my first video on this? I said it's going to be some dude rejected by Kaylee. That's the truth of this whole situation, and it's coming out more and more as things go.
was in this attack. I have learned Kaylee and Maddie were in an upstairs room in the house.
Together.
So the killer had to go specifically upstairs to get to them. And again, that new information just confirmed that Kaylee's injuries were, quote, significantly more brutal.
Thank you for watching.
And so
Go
what
to
we're seeing with this is we're seeing my theory. A lot of my theories come into existence. And look, man, I'm not a know-it-all. I just personally believed just my gut feeling, and I have a nose for this kind of stuff. When I immediately saw this case, I said, oh, no. This one right here. It's going to be these two girls. And then we saw the food truck. We saw all of this. And like I told you from the very beginning, the dude with the hat, the dude with the beanie, the hat and the hoodie, there was something about him that was off. And I still believe it's him. A lot of people believe it's our ex-boyfriend, and I admit that a lot of things point to him, but he doesn't seem, to be perfectly honest, like that type. Now, there's reasons that they're saying it's possibly him, because the dog didn't bark. The dog was left unharmed, which is the same dog that is now with Jack. And I admit that's a valid point. The person seemed comfortable with the house. He knew how to get in. By the way, it's been announced that he came in through the outside patio door, which makes it really interesting. Because when you come in from the outside patio door, the stairs are right there. But instead, he went around the corner to kill the couple that was in the bedroom right there by the patio door. But you still had to go out of your way to go over there and kill them. When if your target was Kaylee, she was right upstairs, right? So the case in itself obviously has a lot of, that's why a lot of people believe it is a serial killer. I don't believe that personally. I believe it was someone who knew these people, who was angry, the amount of rage that it takes to murder 4 people with a knife, and then ultimately at the very end, probably the last one being Kaylee, to commit overkill. Do you see what I'm saying? In my opinion, and it's been my opinion since the beginning, it was going to be some incel that liked Kaylee, or maybe even an ex-boyfriend, someone that was romantically interested in Kaylee that felt rejected. I think in the end, that's where we're going to go with this.
But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted.
Of course it was targeted.
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
They don't.
and Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Yeah.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have
may
to go
have
up
been
the
the target.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go.
He's saying, don't make me fucking speak on this information. And this is breaking. This is huge. Because it sounds to me, and I want you guys to answer me and tell me, does it sound like this to you? It sounds to me like he is openly saying Maddie and Kaylee's cause of death does not match. So did he knife one and then strangle the other one? How exactly does that work? Because now maybe you guys can tell me better in the comment section, but does that not what it sounds like to you? Because he's specifically saying cause of death. They do not match. Now he said manner, but you see the reporter here, he questioned him on this. Listen.
Need somebody to step up and be match.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up
been
the
target.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. Their points of damage don't match. I'm just gonna say it. It wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right.
Right.
You're taking that from me.
Calm down.
If you don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill.
I can respect that.
Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in the box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer to an investigation, because there was a lot of roommates in there. And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of this crime scene. Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's, I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911, somebody was reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or
Damn, they don't
been
even know
told
which
to us
one.
at all.
They don't even know who got
I mean, I
911?
don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get. We don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I've reached out to friends down in California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all worry that at the end of this week that this case may be
100%.
cold?
We're scared.
When you
We're
tell me you
scared.
don't want a photo up there with the reward offering information, that kind of sounds like you're trying to like suppress the story. I mean, why do you not need help?
Right.
Hey, I could be wrong, and you officers, I apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I want to.
absolutely.
Please forgive me. Please forgive me. But if you don't have the information, people do know. If they don't, then you
Give
know
us
the
something.
community. This is a community that is IT based. These guys live a digital footprint like we've never. All of us older people, we don't know how much that digital footprint could be helpful. So
Exactly.
That's what we ask for. I hope like a DNA, a family lineage if they could come out here and just start taking, this town is not that big. We could figure out this, and it might not be him. It might be a family member. We have family all going to the school together. You know, there's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. We could find this guy with volunteers.
Lineage companies were,
Put Idaho on the map.
Exactly. I mean, this is a hell of a story, man. And we are getting, like I said, that is some breaking news for them to say, man. The means of death does not match. That's a pretty insane statement, and it, to me, cracks this whole fucking thing in a goofy direction. Like, why would the police not reveal that to us? I mean, I get it. And I'm not going to knock the police for this because, once again, it's none of our business. But obviously, if you're the father and you know this type of information, it's going to be hard to keep that shit in. Says it was fast and nobody suffered or felt pain. Father of murdered Idaho student says she didn't suffer. As he slams frustrating police investigation and shares how daughter came home in an urn. So there he is again, consistently doing news shows. Consistently doing news shows. And I feel for the man, right? I definitely feel for the man, but he's literally saying that it was fast and nobody suffered. But also he's saying that they were killed differently. So what does that mean? How could it be possible that nobody suffered if they were all brutally stabbed by a fixed blade Rambo knife, right? That seems like a pretty brutal way to die, especially when the news was just broke that one of them, Kaylee, died more brutally than the others. Let this sink in. We just saw Brian Enton release news that Kaylee died more brutally than everyone else. But yet he is saying it was fast and nobody suffered or felt pain. Sorority sister of brutally murdered University of Idaho victims say their final hours were eerily normal and spent with friends before they fought for their lives in targeted stabbing attack in their own home. Madison and Zana had been members of the Idaho chapter of Pi Beta Phi with fellow university student Madison Moy. Moy said she had last seen Mogan laughing with friends at the popular university hangout, the Corner Club, and which, once again, that's where the girls were. And apparently from reports, a lot of dudes were eyeing them the whole night and things like that, which you would expect. You would expect, right? As students returned to campus from Thanksgiving break, Moy said that she would be changing her habits and plans to carry pepper spray now. During an extensive and lengthy investigation spanning 16 days, family of the victims have accused police of withholding details in an effort to catch the killer. Well, that's their job. Suspects of the investigation are yet to be revealed as police continue their investigation into the gruesome quadruple murder. Son of a bitch. Sorry about that. So, they're withholding information, but once again, I think we all understood that. We all knew that. Idaho cops did seize 5 cars, as devastated father of one of the 4 murdered students painfully reveals that he didn't give his daughter a funeral out of fear the monster would be there. This is Gonzalez, as you know, he's been going on all the damn shows. And I get it. I mean, it's hard for me to be mad at him because I think to myself, what would I do in this situation? Would I go on the news shows? Would I leak information if it meant possibly getting some of the killer of my daughter? Probably. Socially awkward neighbor of butchered Idaho students denies he's the killer and says internet sleuths who can't claim he has something to hide has driven him to carry a gun. That guy that we're talking about there is Jeremy Reagan. All right, let's go ahead and take a listen to him a little bit, because here's the thing. When we do this type of work, true crime work, anything like this, we got to be careful sometimes, right? Like, I can sit here and say that I think someone's goofy or I think someone's a suspect, but when you start reaching out to these people and harassing them, you got to think to yourself, what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And it's so weird how some of these people, right? Some of these people, when they do this, when they harass these people, they have the dumbest reasons. Like, he smiled too much in his interview. That's not good enough of a reason for you to harass somebody.
How has your life changed since the online army came after you?
It's definitely been weird. I've had a lot of people online just sort of saying, well, this wouldn't have happened if you never did an interview. If you wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z during the interviews, then we wouldn't have been suspicious of you.
Now, I'm just going to be honest, man. It's so weird. Like, and a lot of you guys out there feel this way. Like, if they wouldn't have done the interview for some reason and provided you with the information you wanted, then you wouldn't be harassing them. So I just want you to see the hypocrisy and the dumbassery in this. You guys crave information. That's why you watch this video of mine. You watch other people's videos. And then when there's somebody involved in the case or close to the case that gives you the information, you're like, well, you shouldn't have done that. Now I'm going to harass you. Do you understand this is why I have such a negative opinion of much of the audience? Some of you guys are great. But especially in the true crime community, some of you guys are fucking nut jobs, man. Seriously, nut jobs. I'm not saying this guy couldn't have done it, but I'm saying your reasons for thinking he'd done it is pretty fucking stupid.
It's not like I was intentionally doing anything during the interview or like I had sought out these interviews. Every single time I've done one, it's been either the reporter or someone with the reporter asking me to do these. But people online have just been ruthless. They went through and gone through all of my social media history over the past decade.
Well, that's what they do.
Just trying to find anything and everything they can about me.
That's what they do.
Pulling up Facebook posts from my mom from a decade ago saying, oh, he was a hunter back in 2012. He must have done it just because a psychic had done a reading and said that it was probably a hunter, even though almost everyone in Idaho hunts at some point. And so they've just been digging into anything and everything they can find about my personal life and trying to somehow link it back to this.
So let's clear the air for anybody who's watching tonight and maybe still even has suspicions. So some of them said he refused to give his DNA to the police. Have the police ever come in contact with you or asked you for DNA or had any requests like that?
Earlier today actually was the first time. Before this, they hadn't interviewed me other than that first day, a couple hours after the news broke that there was a killing there. But up until earlier today, I hadn't been contacted by the police. But then today, partly because of all the reports that people had sent in about me and the interview I did, as well as me going and talking with one of the local prosecutors about what I can do to clear my name, the officers came by my house today. They talked with me. They interviewed me. They didn't bring anything to collect DNA today, but they said, if we need you, will you come down to the station? I said, absolutely. And so if they give me another call or if they don't call me within a few days, I'll probably go down anyways. But
And to be clear, you
problem.
reached out to the prosecutor as well. Let's be really clear about that. So it's just absolutely an abject lie that you refused to give DNA. You've spoken to them, you've offered it, they've said they'll come back and ask you for it. They
And see, things like this is the problem with a lot of you guys out there. Like I said, man, most of the shit that you hear in reference to this guy or anybody, it's all fake news. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. This is just you guys thinking that you're fucking Inspector Gadget and shit and go, Gadget, go. You're sitting there like, you're just waiting to point the finger at everybody. You think you know it all because the dude is awkward because he's a fucking, college nerd. He's awkward, yes. But being awkward doesn't mean you're a killer. That's the truth. A broken window without a screen, a killer who used chloroform and a nervous neighbor in front of the camera. Internet sleuths share their wild and not so wild theories on the Idaho murder that has transfixed the nation. Of course, all of these people are sharing these goofy fucking theories. Did the killer come through a broken window? No. The answer to that is no. He came through the sliding doors, just so we understand. What was next? Were the victims knocked out by chloroform? No. The answer is no. They were not. In fact, one of them fought back. One of them was in the goddamn hallway. Was the socially awkward neighbor involved? The answer is no. No. But yeah, the internet sleuths do keep doing this. And they're actually showing them. Did police look into the strange red Mustang? they literally towed all the vehicles that were there. Well, 4 of them. They did not tow this one, but they looked into it. They're continuing to follow into any possible leads. Who else has been ruled out as a suspect? Now, this is something we've talked about. You guys know I believe that guy right there is the guy. And in fact, when well, let me see if it shows when they leave the food truck. And you see the big fella. The big fella's name is Joe. It's not going to show when they leave, I don't think. Oh, yeah, it did. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I want you to see this. When they leave, does it show when they leave? I think it does right here. Where's the guy with the hat? There he goes. But anyway, it does show later on when they leave, he actually turns around and runs the other way. Not in that video, but the video does exist. So there's nothing wrong with having theories and all this, but sometimes, man, you gotta check yourself, right? Idaho police claim the first forensic results have come back from the crime scene, almost 3 weeks after the 4 students were butchered in the beds. More than 2 weeks after the bodies, some of those first forensic reports are coming back. Now, of course, we have no information on this. Ex-Buffalo University student says University of Idaho murder case is eerily similar to 1992 beating and rape of her sorority sister roommate when everyone assumed it was someone they knew, but it wasn't. Yeah, and we've talked about the possibilities of serial killers. In fact, many of you guys know I compared this to the Gainesville Ripper. For you guys that don't remember the Gainesville Ripper, this is Danny Rowling, and now mainstream media is even comparing it to the Gainesville Ripper. It's weird to see my theories come out there to be like in the mainstream. Let's go ahead and roll it.
A killer on the loose. 5 University of Florida students were murdered. It happened over the course of 3 days. And there are a few similarities between that case and the University of Idaho quadruple murders. News Nation's Sloan Glass is back with a chilling look at the man behind those Florida killings.
Yeah, chilling indeed, Nicole. Danny Rowling, dubbed the Gainesville Ripper, was behind the murders of 5 college students in Florida and a family of 3 in Louisiana. Rowling's killing spree was so gruesome, he was the inspiration behind the movie franchise Scream.
The University of Florida, killing 5 students over the course of 3 days. He targeted women who looked like his ex-wife. The murders and rapes were brutal, especially for those covering the case, like TV anchor Doris Keller.
And we had some of our police contacts who were telling us more about the scenes than they were living on, early on. I think a lot of it came out in the trial, but yes, it was very sickening. And to know how they, positioned some of the bodies and that type of thing, how Rowling did that, it was just unreal.
The victims were female, except for in one case, when Rowling didn't know a male roommate was home, ultimately killing him too.
Just like this case, right?
Very fearful, very stressful. The students who remained in town,
literally just like this case,
the female students who lived near those sites, the murder scenes, they were very fearful. They were anxious, and many of them, ended up going into therapy and that type of thing because of how traumatic this whole thing was.
In the end, the serial killer wasn't caught in connection to the murders. He was arrested for a robbery. It was 4 months later, when he was in jail, that DNA evidence linked Rowling to the Gainesville murders. He confessed and was put to death in 2005. Hours before his execution, he confessed to killing 3 members of a family back in his hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. The sheer sadistic nature of Rowling's killings is different from the Idaho College murders. In one case, Rowling beheading one of his victims. But there are a few similarities in the 2 cases. Both college campus crimes were committed with a fixed-blade knife. Rowling broke in through sliding glass doors, and the house where the Idaho murders happened did have a similar door.
And it's been confirmed that the killer came through a sliding glass door. Is this potentially a copycat? I know that sounds like a crazy theory, but is it possible? There are so many similarities, and if you guys remember, 2.5 weeks ago, I said this exact thing.
Could have been the killer's point of entry.
And in both cases, the universities and surrounding towns were crippled with fear. The Idaho case remains unsolved 2.5 weeks later. Many students not returning to the campus out of fear. In Gainesville, students slept in large groups, taking shifts to sleep.
Damn.
Always someone staying awake on watch. College kids armed with baseball bats walked to classes.
I had people that actually walked through the house and
so
made
it's interesting to see them comparing the cases, because I've always believed that they should be compared, to be perfectly honest. Now, there is breaking news that Kaylee and Madison did die in the same room. So Kaylee and Maddie were sleeping together.
For all these different theories with the bedrooms, this changes a lot of that. I'm assuming the police didn't necessarily want that information to get out, but it was said tonight at the vigil.
So, Brian, obviously there are so many people who are watching every development in this case, and many picked up on what Steve Gonsalves said right away. Do you have any idea? I know it's very, very recent. It just happened in the last hour or so, but do you have any idea if that has concerned the police, that detail is now out in the public, that the two girls were in the same room and in the same bed and died together?
I mean, it's certainly possible, because when I just yesterday asked police for details about who was in what room and that sort of thing, and they said that would compromise the investigation. But at the same time, Ashley, I mean, it's now more than 2 weeks. These families are grieving. This was a memorial service.
Thank you for watching.
So
go to a new.
It's confirmed that they were in the same room, which is interesting. But guys, I want to bring something to your attention. Do you know that night at 3:01 a.m., there was actually a phone call to the police about a drunk kid in the field right there next to it? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think this has anything to do with it, because it's a college town and Saturday night or whatever it was. A 911 call about a drunk kid in the field at 3 a.m. It seems like it could be definitely unrelated and normal. But remember, the killings seem to have occurred right around this same exact time.
Police blotters and call logs are public record. Anybody can see them, and rightly so, because taxpayers pay for that work product. And now some eagle-eyed followers of the Idaho quadruple murder case have picked up on one particular item from the police on the night that the 4 college kids were murdered. In fact, the incident in question happened at almost exactly the same time as the killings. I'm going to read to you what the police blotter actually says. Quote, there was an alcohol offense reported at 3:01 a.m. on November 13th, and that's the last night the kids were alive. The location, a field on Taylor Avenue. You can see it there.
Band Field.
Band. It's called Band Field. So that is not far from the Sigma Chi frat house, where 2 of the victims, Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, spent a lot of their evening earlier on that night. The police timeline puts them at the Sigma Chi party from 8 to 9 p.m. But then there's a big 4-hour and 45-minute black hole where nobody knows, or nobody's saying anyway, where Ethan and Xana were between 9 p.m. until they got home at 1:45 a.m. So our Brian Enton joins me live again, and we're also joined by Gemma Gaudet, who's the host of Idaho Matters on Boise State Public Radio. Thank you.
So basically, we got this phone call coming through at 3 a.m. I want you to see where this field is. Hold on.
We're in, and we'll walk you back, Ashley. And I've been telling you the last couple
I want
days.
you to see. I want you to see how close to all of this is. Look.
Yeah, we can walk you there again.
That's the
frat house
field. The field.
This is like an apartment complex parking lot that we're in.
Watch how close this is to the house.
And I've been telling you the last couple days. There's it's a dense area. When you just look at the shot of the house, you don't realize that all of these houses and apartment buildings.
Look how close this
around.
is.
This is like a little walkway that the students use to
That's
get
the house
down
right up there.
to the frat houses.
That's the house.
And we'll just walk up here.
Straight
Be careful,
up.
Mo, because it's a little slippery. It's been snowing nonstop. Pretty much all day. Just looks like it let up a little bit. So we go up these steps here.
So look how close that house is to all of that. Look how close that house is to that field, to the frat house, to everything.
And then this is a little road right here, Ashley. And you see here is the house. This is the house where the murders happened.
I had
so it's a short walk.
no idea Wow. I mean, short walk, that's like 55 seconds. I mean, they could have gotten home so quickly from that frat house. I had no idea it was that close, Brian.
Exactly. So the question has to be, what was this look, man, the 3 a.m. phone call may not really have anything, may not mean anything, but it's just part of the story, right? Idaho cops now insist they do not know if the murdered university students were targeted. In a major backflip, as father of one tells the victims, moving candlelight vigil his daughter died in the same bed as her best friend. Guys, they flipped and flopped back and forth. Let's just call it what it is. They have flipped and flopped the entire time. They said it was targeted, then they said it wasn't targeted. Now they're saying it's targeted again. FBI profiler says suspect could go to victims' funerals to take pleasure in the crimes. And I think it's definitely a possibility. If the killer was so sloppy, why haven't the cops found him? Idaho cops slammed for grave contradictions and poor probe. As insiders fear quadruple murder the murderer may have fled abroad. Of course he did. You really think that the quadruple murderer is still there in Idaho? Idaho police say a sixth person was actually on the lease at the house where the 4 college students were murdered, but this person was not there at the time of the homicide. In fact, it's been said that the sixth person is never there, never really there. He's just on the lease. The person is just on the lease, but apparently they're never there. I'm not sure if that person's been cleared or not. But like I said, he was on the lease, but was not there at the time, as terrified students now carry tasers and bear spray to defend themselves on campus. I wish I could give them one last hug. To the 2 survivors of the Idaho murder finally speak out for the first time in heartbreaking statement read by the church pastor, as clueless cops reveal they still have no suspects. Those are the other 2 that was left unharmed in the house. Let's go ahead and listen. Is this where he's reading the statement? This is the statement from the surviving Idaho students.
Chris, I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm going to be reading 2 different letters, one from Dylan and one from Bethany. This is from Dylan Mortensen. To Xana and Ethan, the 2 best friends but perfect pair together. They had this unstoppable, loving relationship. They both would look at each other with so much love. Everyone knew they were the perfect duo. They both had this fun, passionate, crazy, but good energy. They both were the kind of people who cared about everyone and would help anyone. Xana was the life of the party. If she was there, it was going to be great. But Xana was so much more than a girl who could just have fun. She was strong, intelligent, hardworking, and a beautiful person. Xana was taking this math class, a class I was also taking, and the amount of effort and hard work she put into that class was the only reason I tried to pass it.
Damn.
She would constantly uplift me and tell me I could do it. Xana was also a very big people person. She could make a conversation with anyone, any friend and any parent. She loved the parents, especially the moms. Every tailgate, she would talk to a new mom, get their phone number, and text them. Everyone that got the chance to know her loved her. I was and am so lucky to have experienced a life with her, as her being one of my closest friends. I didn't know Ethan until this semester. I wish I would have gotten to know him more. He was so sweet and loving to Xana. Xana was like his whole world, and you could see it in him. While Ethan was like a friend, he was also like an older brother to me. I got to experience what an older brother would be like. He was this goofy guy who I could make sarcastic jokes to. Every time I saw him, he'd give the sarcastic jokes right back. He was also loving to my friends and to me. He cared like Xana about everyone. He was easygoing and easy to talk to. I'm glad I got the time I had to know Ethan, and I'm so thankful to have gotten to know such an amazing person. I know somewhere Xana and Ethan are together, keeping each other company, watching us and telling us it's okay and that we have each other.
It's sad, right? It's sad, but it's good that they finally spoke out, right? Father of Idaho's murder house victim says he believes his daughter or her best friend, who were sleeping in the same bed, were the ones that were targeted, based on the killer's injury an exit point. This guy has revealed a lot of information. Basically, he said that the killer entered on the second floor. And that was information the police had not given us yet. But basically, he said in this interview with Fox News again, he's doing a lot of interviews with Fox News. Appreciate that. Basically said that they entered through entered through the sliding doors on the second floor. That's something we did not know, right? So that makes sense why the first floor people were left alone, because he never went in through that front door with the keypad in the front door. Guys, we're gonna get out of here, but I want to leave off with this. This guy Joe Vido, whatever the fuck his name is, right? This guy right here was the bigger fella in some of those videos, in the video at the food truck. Now, the thing about this entire situation is people even began to point at him and say that he was a potential suspect. And he has made videos with his thoughts. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Joe here. I just wanted to jump on this and make a video real quick. And kind of just squash some stuff that I've been seeing. So, first and foremost, I feel super awkward that I even have to make this video, but I've been not really keeping track of all of the stuff that's going on with this investigation for those girls that were killed. And to start off, the very next day when they had announced the murders and when they had shown the photos, as soon as I saw the photos, I messaged the two people that were in that video that I was talking to, my neighbor and then another guy that we had met earlier that night who I thought was really cool. And we invited him to come with us to Grub Bus. And I was like, hey, weren't two of these girls at the Grub Bus with us last night? And they couldn't remember, but they were also very drunk, and I was not. So there's a drink called a Larry Craig. That's a really popular drink over here. I did have one of those at Corner Club, but other than that, I was totally sober. When they confirmed that those were the girls, the only reason I knew that it was those girls was because I saw the video that said, oh, they were seen at this thing. Because I actually called the police right away and was like, hey, I think I might have information. I just need to know what was one of the girls wearing, because I remember one of them had pink, because the one that bumped into me at Corner Club was wearing pink. But nobody called me back from the police, and I was like, okay, they're probably just swamped with information, probably whatever. But then when the video came out and people were like, no, those were the girls, and those two people were like, dude, those were the girls, I was like, okay, I'm gonna physically go to the police station and talk to the police. I told the police everything I saw, which is different than what I think is going out there right now.
Damn.
And I was just waiting for food. I'm just like everybody else in town that waits for food at the Grub Bus. It does take a while. Everybody goes there. And so that was kind of the thing. It was like, no, if you're ending the night, you end it at Grub Bus. But other than that, I don't really have any crazy information. I don't know why everybody's reaching out to me. I don't know why so many people are trying to spin things around.
That's exactly what.
And so what I've decided to do is that I'm only commenting on things that are ridiculous, so try and give clarity. But man, people are really turning this into something it's not. Hey,
so
Joey.
I think it's interesting to see his comments, because this was someone that was obviously there, and had a run-in with the girls, and he clearly said that they were drunk as shit, and I think that was obvious. And anyone that saw the food truck video, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I still remember the dude that was standing backwards. Now this was the bigger fella, right? From what I understand, this is the bigger fella that was there, not the dude with the hoodie and the hat.
Sorry, I had to do this in two parts because there's a lot. And I'm also shivering. It's cold and I'm in my truck. Yeah. So I wanted to address a few things specifically. One being the news article that came out was the first person that I actually like talked to with the news media. A lot of media outlets have reached out to me, and I've just ignored them because I just was like, man, I just was waiting for food. Like, I have nothing to add. I've given all the helpful information I can to the police. Would make zero sense for me to give any more information to random people. But these rumors that are going around were just like crazy, and I didn't have a bad vibe from the guy that people were dragging through the mud. I don't know if he did it or not. I don't know.
He's talking about the dude
I'm
with
just
the
saying, like,
hoodie.
I could speak to the vibe I got from him, which was all people really wanted to know at first anyways, and I thought he was fine.
He's talking
Now,
about the dude with the hoodie
news
and the
outlet
hat.
that I talked to, I mean, he really embellished some stuff I said and added his own words to things and kind of changed the verbiage. I wasn't defending anybody. That's one thing he said. I wasn't defending him. I was just saying people need to stop spreading rumors because that could ruin his life. What if he's innocent? It would ruin his life. The other thing he said is that I noticed him come in with the girls. I didn't notice him come in with the girls. I didn't notice him till I cracked the joke to the frat guys because I thought it was ridiculous that it was like freezing outside and that guy was in a tank top. So I just made a joke because that's how I make friends. I don't know. But that's when the guy chimed in and I noticed him. I didn't notice him until that moment. When I was at Corner Club, when I said ew, some people were like, "What? That's such a weird thing to say. Why would I?" That's what you say when you're standing talking to friends and somebody really drunk, like they smell drunk, they're like bouncing around and they bump into you and like rub up against you. Like that's it's gross. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but she was really.
That's kind of
I mean, you
gay.
can even see in the Grub Bus video, she walked between
kinda
us
gay, right?
several times and just couldn't even walk straight. That girl was very drunk. She's actually the only one that I thought was really drunk. And she was the only one I noticed at Corner Club because she had bumped into me. Another thing that was weird is that the guy who was interviewing me from the Daily Mail or whatever it was, he said glass-eyed, and I was like, sure, yeah, like that. I didn't actually even use that word. That was his word. And then as far as the car goes, yeah, there was a car that pulled up. I couldn't remember what it was. I couldn't remember if it was black, blue, gray. I couldn't remember. I just remember there a car pulled up. Sorry, I had to do this in two parts because there's a lot.
All right, so
and I'm also
all right,
shivering.
we made it through all that. All right. So, I mean, basically, this guy, he was just there to get food.
Ooh, so cold.
And he's giving us some details.
I didn't know what color the car was. It was dark.
Oh, shit, sorry.
And I just felt like when I told the guy, I said it was a dark car, I
These are the
couldn't
people that
remember
picked him
what
up.
color it was. And I think when I was at the police station, I couldn't remember what color it was. They asked me to.
It was nighttime.
And
Hell.
yeah, but the Daily Mail guy was like, no, you need to, like, was it blue? Was it black? I was like, I can't remember if it was blue or black. I can't remember. He's like, we'll just say dark colored car. And I was like, okay. I was like, I think it was a 4-door sedan, but this guy got out and was like, hey, let's go. What's going on? Because the girls were making videos and laughing and they were trying to grab all the food. Every time food was coming out from the Grub Bus, they were just trying to grab it. And they thought it was funny. And I mean, it was a little funny, but they were trying to grab all the food that was coming out. And when I went up and I talked to the guy at the Grub Bus, I said, did you just give them food? Because he just said, here you go, like that, and gave them food. And then they ran off. I actually told the Grub Bus, I was like, that was really nice of you. He's like, yeah, they just need to get, they need to get home. And I was like, yeah. They were trying to climb into the Grub Bus. So, I mean, very drunk.
There's a lot of people that say
And
he's
then,
bashing
honestly,
the girls.
as soon
I
as
don't
they
think
called
so.
my number, I told the guy, I said, they're leaving, bro. And then because they called my number, all I could think about was pasta. I couldn't think about anything else other than just eating macaroni and cheese. And that was it. I didn't give any other thoughts. I didn't think anything else about it. Yeah. Some people have said that, like, I've seen some people say like, oh, I think it's suspicious how much Joe remembers. I'm an adult. Like, as soon as I realized that those were the girls that we saw there, I tried my best to remember everything and recount it from that night because I knew that it would help in the investigation. Some people said, oh, Joe might have been the suspect. Dude, I have cameras in my house. I literally have the time I walked in my house. The girls were still alive at that point. And I have a can of soda that I had in my video, have it in my hands, walking into my house. So, yeah, it wasn't me, I promise.
Makes sense.
And other people were saying that I was excited about like a claim to fame or something like that. What is wrong with you? That's such a disgusting thing to think.
Right.
Like, who would be excited about this? I've literally ignored everybody. Like, everybody. The only reason I even answered the Daily Mail guy at first is because he showed up to my friend's house.
Damn, that's
like,
creepy.
physically showed up to
That's
my friend's
creepy,
house.
right?
Trying to find me or trying to get information about me. Crazy.
Definitely some creepy shit. Definitely some creepy shit. But he seems genuine. This guy seems genuine.
And,
let's be honest.
I just wanted to help. You know, part of me too felt guilty because I was laughing. I kind of laughed at the girls, you know, watching them be drunk because, I mean, let's be honest, anybody that lives here, the whole reason that the Grub Bus has a Twitch stream is because the people, I call them zombies, but just kind of like because they're just people come from all walks throughout the night. A lot of drunk people come there after they've finished their night drinking to load up on carbs, eat food. Police come there that are working late. They come get their food. They just park right behind the bus. People like me come there who just want pasta in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's all walks of life, all people. But it makes for an interesting crowd pretty late. And so they always live stream it. That's the reason they live stream it. So that camera footage that you guys are seeing, that looks like surveillance, it's not surveillance. It's a live stream for Twitch, for the Grub Bus. One thing I did say that I'm glad that was reported truthfully is that, you know, I have a little girl. And, I mean, she's a baby. She's, like, not even 2 yet. And she's my world. And, you know, there's a dad out there that these girls, that they're his world, you know? And they're gone, so. And I just felt kind of guilty because instead of helping them when they were drunk, they were entertainment. While I was waiting for food, they were just the entertainment. They were just the drunk people that everybody laughs at, you know? And it's sad, and some people think that's disrespectful. I mean, it was what was happening. They were drunk. They were out there drunk like that. And one of my toxic traits is that I take on the weight of everything that's going on around me, both personally or just even with friends and stuff. And so any of my friends that know me, they reached out to me pretty much right away because they knew that this was going to be eating me up. And it has. And I haven't been following what people have been saying until just recently. You know, somebody sent me a TikTok video that had the most ridiculous things on it, and I tried to set those straight. And apparently it fueled more Reddit BS and more rumors. I don't understand how people are making this into an entertainment thing. Like, I live here. My friends are scared to walk to their cars. I'm a big guy. I'm strong. I don't feel super safe going outside alone at night either. I just hope people realize that there's real people that are affected by this stuff, you know, and that
makes sense.
And yeah,
makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. I love the fact that he's breaking everything down.
Sorry, I put my hood on. It's really cold. Like,
His final thoughts.
But at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like people need to stop trying to reach out to me to get statements. There's so many other people that know more about what's going on than I do. I just happen to be getting macaroni and cheese at the same time as them. And other than like those couple minutes there, I can't really speak to anything else. And people need to stop dragging whoever through the mud. especially if you don't live here and you don't know anybody, you don't know what's going on really.
Well, to be fair, you don't know what's going on any more than anybody else. You said it yourself, right? You don't have to live there to know what's going on, bro. But go ahead.
Like, this isn't funny and it's not entertaining. And I believe that Moscow Police Department is doing a really good job in trying to kind of just do damage control. But, like, let's be honest, the FBI is, like, on it, you know? I would be surprised if they have a really good idea of who it is. They're just waiting for evidence, you know?
Makes sense.
Evidence to just make it concrete, you know? Because one of the worst things that can happen, you guys, is if they catch the murderer and they
fuck up
arrest
the case.
them, bring them in, and then they have weak or refutable evidence,
Exactly.
and that person walks. Think about that.
I agree. I definitely
You know,
agree.
so ease up. Don't be jerks to the police, you know? They're literally like, they don't want to give information out because this is like a really tight investigation, but they know things. They know things. I don't understand why they didn't. I will say my one critique, I don't know why they didn't put out right away that a car picked up the girls and was waiting for them in front of the grub bus. It took them way too long to do that, and there was a lot of rumors going around saying that the girls ran away from that guy. They ran across the street, and that's really when I started to like, man, I should say something, you know, online. But, you know, I work in media and marketing, and I'm a musician, and I have a lot of things that I just want to like give the world. And I'm sad that this is kind of how my name got out there. That makes me really sad. I'll probably delete these videos as soon as they announce the murder and it's all over. But until then, please just stop.
I can agree with that.
Today I talked to somebody from Dr. Phil. They were wanting me to go on Dr. Phil and talk about this. And I'm like, why? I don't think people realize how little I actually know. But like I've said, I've been pretty much ignoring everybody. I'm not going to talk to any more media. There's actually, let me backtrack that. There's a lady coming to Moscow tomorrow who I'll probably have coffee with, but other than her, that's it. Stop spreading rumors.
Well, I gotta admit, Joe sounds genuine, right? Maybe you guys agree with me on that. Joe sounds genuine. The other neighbors sounded genuine. A lot of people sound genuine here. A lot of new stuff that's come out. Now, granted, a lot of you guys are gonna think it's not enough stuff because you think you should be in the know of everything. But we was able to put together an 1 and 7 minute long video on the new information just since the last one, right? And that's just me basically reading headlines and showing you a little bit here and there. Guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. Who do you think did it? My personal gut feeling is still Hoodie and Hat Man from the Grub Truck. Let me know what you guys think. It's still, to me, a dude that wanted Kaylee, and Kaylee rejected him, or something of that nature. You guys let me know what you guys think. If you like what I do here and you find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. We will be live over on the live stream channel, but if you guys don't like news and politics, that's probably not for you. Hope you guys all have a fantastic day. I'm thejbgunner. This is thejbgunner TV. If you like what we do, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video where I'm going to be deep diving into the Delphi murders. So it'll actually be my first video on that entire case. Oddly. Weird, right? All right, guys. See you next time. Peace out.